Greetings, my friends. I want to thank you all for subscribing. I want to thank all of my channel members for supporting me in this endeavor to save pop culture. And if you are not subscribed, please consider supporting this channel. We need you. Thank you. Greetings, my friends, and welcome to part 2 of my Rings of Power Episode 6 review. As viewers will recall, I got about halfway through my review when I got overwhelmed by the stunning amount of suck I was witnessing, and I just had to stop and walk away. Well, I've hit the bottle, gotten a good night's sleep, watched some episodes of Primal to regain the will to live, and now here I am with the second part of my review. Folks, I said it in my last video, that this episode definitely convinces me there is no hope that this show will ever improve. This is the final and ultimate failure for the so-called Rings of Power, and let me tell you why this is. If you check my video list, you'll see I never bothered to do a review for episodes 4 and 5 of Rings of Power, and the reason why is quite simply, nothing happened in those episodes. Nothing worthy of attention or discussion, or even mockery. Literally, they were 2 complete wastes of time, and I just couldn't find a way to talk about nothing, not even for 7 minutes. So I just skipped them. But in episode 6, we have orcs attacking Bronwyn's human settlement, complete with an elf flying through the air on wires, and we have Sauron's cunning plan exposed, and by cunning plan, I mean idiotic and completely implausible plan. Sauron's plan to make a volcano erupt with a silly Rube Goldberg device straight out of Wile E. Coyote's Acme catalog. So the question I had going into this episode was, given that we've reached a point in the plot where big things are actually about to happen, can these hack writers make Rings of Power at all interesting? And the answer is, spoiler, hell no!
Hey, you gave it a shot. It didn't work out. Don't beat yourself up over it, Doomcock. Hey, I have an idea. Push the button that will release me from my containment field, allowing me to destroy your universe as a symbol of protest against Rings of Power. All the stars going out as the sun explodes will get their attention, I bet.
Nah, knowing these writers, they'd find a way to make Universal Armageddon boring too.
Well, you can't blame a guy for trying. Continue with your review.
Thank you. So let's just sum the rest of this up fast, shall we? Rings of Power Episode 6 is as boring as any other episode, despite the fact that actual plot points take place in the episode. But nothing that happens actually has any significance whatsoever because we just don't give a shit about any of these people. Everything that happens is just theoretical. The war against the orcs to save humans should be exciting, in theory. Bronwyn getting shot by an arrow, bleeding out and having to be saved by Arondir using a torch to cauterize her wound would be interesting, theoretically, if we cared about Bronwyn. The fact that the orcs overrun the keep and the humans fight until one of the orcs holds a dagger to Theo's throat, at which point they all surrender? But then they add insult to injury. Get this, folks. The orcs break into the keep, they overrun it, the humans are fighting until one of the orcs holds a dagger to Theo's throat. At which point, they all surrender. Really? They all surrender? It's a bloody battle for survival, but the orcs hold a dagger to Bronwyn's son's throat, and everyone says, uh-oh, now things are getting serious. We better stop and lay down our arms before someone gets hurt. Dear God, orcs don't respond to passive resistance, son. It's like Bronwyn read Gandhi for Dummies when studying up on being the bestest leader ever. So the orcs naturally, having the humans at their mercy, start executing the humans as orcs are wont to do. But then, lo and behold, just as we knew Bronwyn would save Arondir, we know that Galadriel and the Númenóreans are going to save the humans. And they arrive on horseback and do just that, yawn. Galadriel does horse foo, leaning and dodging and killing in her saddle, proving she's just a pale imitation of Mikey Spock, killing everyone and being the bestest ever. What a crock. So here's where I'm pretty convinced that contrary to canon, the writers may well be setting up Halbrand to be Sauron. Adar runs away from the battle and Galadriel pursues him. He's toast, cause she's, the bestest ever. He's fucked, and the choir singing self-importantly knows it too. But Halbrand heads them off at the pass, so to speak, and uses a pike to trip Adar's horse. Then he stabs Adar in the hand. Adar looks up at Halbrand. "Do you remember me?" Halbrand asks him. Adar says no. Halbrand moves to kill Adar. Galadriel stops Halbrand from killing him. Galadriel says we need him alive, and then says with great self-importance, "One cannot satisfy thirst by drinking seawater." What the fuck? Great line, Galadriel. That's up there with, do you know the difference between a paper boat and a rock? Who's writing this shit? So Galadriel takes Adar, interrogates him in the barn. Where is Sauron? Adar won't answer. Galadriel threatens to drag the orcs out into the sunlight, and then Adar fesses up. Adar claims that Sauron was doing cruel experiments on the orcs, and so he killed Sauron to stop the cruel experiments. Each orc has a name, a heart, worthy of the breath of life, worthy of a home, says Adar. Yes, orcs they are people, so why should it be? Galadriel should treat those orcs so awfully. But Galadriel isn't buying it, Mr. Patriarchy. Galadriel is gonna kill all the orcs, she tells him, and then kill him last. Adar says he sees he's not the only elf alive that has been marked by darkness. Galadriel gets hysterical and goes "Ree!" and is about to kill Adar. He's gonna cut his throat when Halbrand yells "Galadriel!" and stops her. Adar asks Halbrand, "Who are you?" But see, if Adar did kill Sauron a while back, and now Halbrand is Sauron, no wonder Halbrand wanted to kill Adar and asked him, "Do you recognize me?" Suspicious. Outside the barn, Galadriel says to Halbrand, "Thank you for pulling me back." And Halbrand says, "You pulled me back first." Oh my God. You cannot make this shit up, people. That's actual dialogue. Are you sad you missed it? I wouldn't think so. So let's wrap this up, shall we? About 47 minutes into the show, Arondir and Theo talk about the evil sword hilt that regenerates a blade when exposed to blood. You know, the one that Theo bought at Sauron's used evil artifact emporium. Anyway, Theo says it made him feel powerful to possess it. Arondir says, well, that's okay. We'll turn it over to Numenor. They can cast it into the sea on the way home. No harm, no foul. But when Theo pulls the wrapped bundle he thinks contains the hilt out and unwraps it, he finds that the hilt is gone and a cheap axe has been substituted. Turns out the evil old human dude who still worships Morgoth stole the hilt. Now this old Morgoth disciple grows the black blade out using some blood, sticks it into a slot in the ground like a key, and turns it. This triggers a massive break in this dam on a nearby river, and a shit ton of water is released. Are you fucking kidding? So this magic, evil, bloodthirsty blade was nothing more than a key to trigger an improbable death trap? Suddenly the water goes underground and geysers of water shoot up all around our band of merry humans, and all the orcs are excited and chanting, and Adar looks happy as the water flows down into a lava pit and a volcano erupts. Fireballs and shock waves strike the humans, and this reveals starkly why Rings of Power is such a failure. It's a fairly spectacular visual sequence, but it generates no excitement at all because we don't care about any of these people. That's the huge flaw in all of this. No one cares about a single person on this show. Many people can't even name these characters. So any threats are purely theoretical, barely enough to get you to look up from your phone as you're tweeting out live how boring Rings of Power is. But the cliffhanger they end on is one of the phoniest cliffhangers I've ever seen. Get this. The episode ends with lava, fire, and smoke rolling toward Galadriel, who simply closes her eyes as she is engulfed. And no one gives a shit, because we all know she has plot armor thicker than the vault doors at Fort Knox. You want to know my prediction of what's going to happen? The flames will engulf Galadriel, and when they go out, Galadriel will be revealed kneeling naked, surrounded by 3 little dragons, all in the hope they can steal away some of House of the Dragon's audience, given how vastly greater that audience is than the paltry viewership of Rings of Power. My friends, you should avoid this show like Ebola germs coughing up COVID. This show not only destroys Tolkien canon as bad as that is, this show is a disgrace, a failure in every possible way. Visually, thematically, in terms of writing and acting, this show is an insult not just to Tolkien fans, but to everyone. And every time I think of it, I am racked with pure disgust. This entire series is a sick joke, and all of us are idiots if we watch this trash, ever thinking anything is going to happen. Rings of Power is a pile of recycled shit, and any interest or joy in this material has been smothered by inept writing by propagandists who care more about making Galadriel, Bronwyn, and Muriel the bestest evers than they are in telling a story that bears any semblance to Tolkien's amazing work. Watch this shit at your own peril. Fuck Rings of Power and every substandard wannabe hack who worked on it. This garbage is a waste of time and an insult to any audience member suckered into watching it. Complete and total waste of fucking time. My advice, skip it. Life is too short to waste on things like this. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry. Ha 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 ha.